kids, we've got a yin yoga class planned, especially focusing on the side ribs. This is a place that I feel is a vulnerability place. We tend to, our arms are hugging in at our sides all the time, and this is a very protected area of our body. And so as we start to stretch all sorts of directions laterally, this helps to expose this area, and think of it as even an area of the heart. It's like the heart area surrounds in all directions this chest area. So we're starting to expose that heart to a little bit of vulnerability, and also even the low part of the hip and up the waist. So as we're getting started, let's make our way down onto our backs. And laying all the way down comfortably, take a few moments, a few good deep breaths to consider what your vulnerabilities are. What is it that makes you feel maybe smaller when little parts of you come to life and come to the light? What is it that you resist telling others about yourself? Maybe because you have some insecurities or uncertainties about them. And what is it that makes you defensive? None of these reactions are wrong. They're all the ways that we can make sure that our heart is secure and it's protected. The people that are going to break it don't have an opportunity to get in. However, today we're going to open ourselves up to the possibility that maybe, what if no one could hurt our heart? No one had that power. No one had that strength. What if our heart in and of itself was so powerful, was so full of love that nobody could penetrate it? And that in exposing, taking down the shields and exposing that area today, through all sorts of stretches, we're building a layer of trust that even for this 1 hour, nobody's coming here to hurt us. And so with this idea of vulnerability passing through our body, passing through our emotions, we're going to head into our first stretch, which is like the shape of a banana. And so our right ankle crosses over the left ankle, and then the legs scoot off the left edge of the mat. However far you can go without lifting up the right hip. You're not wanting to tilt, you're just wanting to laterally scoot. So the legs are in place, up overhead, grab onto your right wrist, and then begin to scoot the shoulders off that left edge of the mat. This is helping to stretch everything from the right shoulder down the right ribs, all the way down to that hip. And so we're taking several minutes to be right here. That's what we do in yin yoga. We hold for an extended period of time because that helps us to get to different layers. There's the first layer that you're already feeling at this moment, that muscular layer. See how effortless you can make the pose, even if it's kind of deep, kind of intense. See if you can take away that effort side of it, that side that's trying to force your bones to be in the right spot. Instead, go to the spot that just feels good. And perhaps the next layer for us is starting to work on the breath. So feel yourself breathing into the lungs. And notice how as the breath is calming down, it's easier to breathe. Notice how we're in less of a panic state. Sometimes we don't intend to be panicked, but when the stretch starts to get intense, our body kind of takes this thought that it's like, okay, when can I get out of this? When can I just move? So as we start to calm past that panicked state, notice the emotional depth that's available in this pose. Then we take about 3 more breaths in this spot. After the 3rd breath, release the hand and ankle connection and feel your shoulder, feel that right side of your body a bit more open. Gradually, we begin to transition to the 2nd side, left ankle crossing over right, leg scooting off the right edge of the mat. Up overhead, this time we hold on to left wrist, and then the arms start to scoot over to the right. Again, we're not tilting, we're not lifting up the hips or the shoulders, we're just laterally bending. So imagine you've been hiding something about yourself in the side ribs. Does your intuition immediately give you a thought of what that thing might be for you? And can we look at that vulnerable aspect as something beautiful about us? Something that makes us unique? And what's coming up for you on this side? Did you go through the small state of not quite panic, but a fraction of that panic simply because this pose changes our breath? Did you go through that stage? And did you find that you can still breathe deep and full, very comfortable? And in getting used to the breath, has your body learned that you're here to support it and not to hurt it? And maybe can we make our body a promise? I will try my very best to listen to you and to always try to make the best decision I can for you, body, given what I have at any moment. In any moment in time, I will try to choose the best foods that are available in that moment. And I'll try to listen for what types of exercise and what quantity is appropriate. And I'll listen to what the body tells us is exciting and maybe try to do more of that. Knowing that life isn't meant to be lived in front of a computer screen, just typing and working all day. And breathing a fresh breath of air into the lungs, we promise our body, I will breathe for you. I'll keep this breath going strong and deep. And the body makes a promise back to us that it'll continue to pump the heart our whole life. It'll help us breathe even when we forget to think about it. So from here, let's take one more deep sip of breath in. And once again, completely release hands and ankles. Return your spine into a straight alignment on your mat. And just feel a few sips of breath in and out. Maybe the body shifted already from having sensed those vulnerable places. So as we're heading to our next shape, slide the left foot in, planting it on the ground. The right ankle comes up onto that left thigh. And then from here, we simply tilt both legs from that configuration over to the left. The upper part of our body that we are focusing on in the last posture is now solidly rooted to the earth. And now it's the low back and the hips, this lower portion of our body that's getting the chance to open up in a whole different way than it normally is. People don't just sit and walk like this. And so this is exposing some deep parts of the hip, maybe the IT band, maybe your sacrum or your low back. It's exposing a new movement to those areas. So just feel what's alive for you at this pose. Now you always have permission to move and readjust to make sure you're not in any sort of pain, such as sharp stabbing and throbbing sensations. So some options in this pose, if you need to lessen the depth of it, is to slide everything a little bit closer to the base of the mat, sliding it down. Conversely, if you're wanting to get a little bit deeper, scoot everything a little bit closer to your shoulder, heading deeper toward that direction. So if it feels appropriate at this time, you're welcome to readjust and play with it. We're about halfway done with this side. And begin to feel the breath flowing into the belly. Just like in the banana pose, it was difficult to breathe because the ribs were stretching in a slightly different way. Here it can be a little bit difficult to breathe because the belly is twisted slightly. That makes it so that the diaphragm has a little bit more difficulty pushing the intestines down to expand the lungs. So even in the slight challenge, see if you can still take that deep belly breath. We're already on our last deep breath for this side. So to come out, uncross the ankle, and then start to take a few windshield wipers. Both knees are swinging over to the right and over to the left. The feet are simply planted for this moment. And then we take the left ankle up onto the right thigh And let this whole unit fall over to the right this time. Starting off at an easeful place, begin to listen to what's going on. What muscle groups are pulled very deep for you in this side? And can you start to deepen your connection with the breath, making sure that we're breathing all the way down into the belly? We've reached our final deep inhale and exhale for this pose. And so once again, we uncross the ankle, plant both feet, and allow the knees permission to go right and left a few times. Eventually, we roll over to one side and press our way up toward a seated place. Our legs are going to be spread wide, so if this is not a comfortable shape for your hips, I want you to find something to sit up onto to elevate your hips. So that could be a stack of blankets, it could be a bolster. You also have the option to just bend your knees, making that a little bit more comfortable. So with the legs spread nice and wide, we're going to end up stretching our side body over to the right leg. So we start off planting the right hand, or if any of you are able to drop down to the right elbow, I recommend that version if at all possible, so that way you can simply support the weight of the head with that right hand. So either way, whether you've got the hand down or the head in the hand, peel the left shoulder back an inch or two, and then begin to play with stretching this right arm up and over so that you're getting that exposure to the lateral ribs once again. Now this pose can get tiring on that shoulder since we're holding there for a while. So know that at any time, if you need to change the shape, such as simply dropping and winding the hand behind your back, that would always be fine. Kind of just resting it in front of you would always be fine. And if your body tells you intuitively it's good to go back into the shape, you're welcome to return once again. There's no particular picture perfect body shape that we're headed toward. Everybody doing this pose doesn't have to look exactly the same. It's you exploring your bodies and being present with all the levels. So being present with the physical body level, and the breath level, and the emotions level. I went to the petroglyphs a couple of days ago, and there was a big petroglyph that caught my eye that was simply concentric circles, several circles within the other circles. And the audio tour that I was listening to described this as the role of the shaman was to get into the deeper layers within, getting into those universes and dimensions that are available when we dive deeply within. Imagine that idea. There's a universe within you. Are you willing to explore it? Because it requires time and meditation and practice to get to those layers. And a lot of times I talk with people who are new to meditation, and they struggle so much because they can't get their mind to stop, and they can't get they're not comfortable with the quiet. They're not comfortable with that space. But imagine that a whole different level to who you are is within you. Just like these layers of the body that we're exploring, physical, and the breath and the emotions. And can you treat yourself like an explorer? What if my only job in life was to learn about the universe within me? We're approaching our last 3 breaths on this side. Remember, you can readjust as needed. And then from here, we lift ourselves up just enough that we can plant the right hand to the outside of the right leg. And from here, we begin to fall over to the right leg direction. Sometimes it's helpful, once you've relaxed down for a moment, to re-straighten the low back and then melt back down to that slightly deeper layer. And can you feel the surrendering nature of this posture? The surrendering down to gravity, telling gravity, at least in this moment, I don't have to fight against you. I can surrender and I can become one with you. And we're approaching the last 3 breaths for this direction. So let it flow within your body, deep and easeful. As you gradually find that third exhale, allow your hands to plant onto the ground and begin to straighten the arms to help support our spine through this slow journey to rise back upright. And feel how your body's changed from these poses we just took. And feel how your body's ready to take the second half, coming into balance once again. And so we drop the left hand down, or maybe melt to the elbow. We start with the right shoulder peeling back an inch, and then circling up and over, remembering you can play with it. If it gets too tiring to stay up overhead, find a new shoulder position. Can you feel the length going all the way down to the hip? Sometimes we kind of naturally sabotage ourselves by having other areas of our body contract to try to take the stretch away. And so notice what's going on through the rest of the body, especially under the second leg or into this right hip area. Is there anything that's contracting to kind of hold you back from the deepest expression of the stretch? As you scan through your body, if you find those areas, my recommendation is to explore not only how we can release from it, but also have that question in the back of our mind. I wonder why I do that. Once again, remember, if at this point your arm needs a break, you're welcome to take the break. If it doesn't want to come back into it, that's okay, no pressure. If there is space to return, you're welcome to come back into that beautiful stretch. Take one more really good inhale. And with our exhale, the right hand drops to the ground. The left hand slides to the outside of the left leg. And we're ready to turn the shoulders down as we take this extra stretch over the left leg. Personally, I love it when I'm able to rest my head down onto something. So that might very well be your leg, or your leg with two fists stacked. Or maybe another prop can be aiding here, setting a block by our side, or something like that that gives us space to rest the head down. It's not a requirement. I just prefer it because it helps my neck make sure that I'm not adding any more tension than I need to in that area. And if this is a good time for you to try to find a new depth, re-straighten your spine from that low back, and then allow yourself to melt all the way back down. We're exploring our last deep inhale and exhale. And then find your hands helping your spine return all the way back up, that long journey. Pick up your knees and allow your legs to come to a simple cross-legged shape. Notice how in this posture, lifting the spine tall feels like a wonderful release after the pose we just took. So from here, we're ready to start moving into a couple of neck stretches. We're going to allow the right ear to go over the right shoulder. And this could be all your neck wants to take. We won't be in this one quite as long as some of the other poses. And so if this is enough for the neck, you can simply stay here for a few more breaths. If you're wanting to go deeper, you're welcome to extend left fingertips off to the left side and maybe take the right hand to rest on the top ear, encouraging that ear to rest over the shoulder. If stillness feels great, you're welcome to stay here. Otherwise, sometimes I slowly rock my head behind the shoulder and tilt the jaw up. And then just as slowly, I transition to the head going slightly in front of the shoulder, jaw going down. So maybe you're rocking it, or maybe you find one of those areas to just pause. We're here just 3 more breaths on this side. If the right hand goes up, release it down. Very slowly roll the chin down to the chest and pause for a moment here. Before we roll the head back up to neutral and take the second direction. Left ear over left shoulder. Options to float the right fingers off to the side or take the left hand and rest it up on the top ear. Maybe you have some movement on this side once again. And maybe just one of those spots is the perfect place to stay. We take 3 more breaths. We drop the hand down to roll chin down to chest. Head starts to roll slowly back up. Good. And the main direction we still have yet to move the spine today is into a nice arch of the heart. So we're going to take puppy pose. Find yourself kneeling with hips staying over the knees. And from this kneeling position, we begin to walk the hands forward. With hips over knees, this is what makes it different than a child's pose. Many people are able to rest their forehead down. If that's not accessible, a block underneath your head could work, or slide something that's nearby to you that gives you a few extra inches. Occasionally, there's people that need depth. They need additional movement. So for those people, you're welcome to flip your chin and rest it down onto your chin instead. No pressure, especially if that feels like it gets to be too much. What we are trying to do is drop the heart down instead of simply staying in a rigid straight line. So increasingly, we're melting the heart, even just a centimeter closer to the earth. And feel how this is its own kind of vulnerability. Not only being inverted, where the head is below the heart, but also exposing the spine, exposing the hips. With the arms stretching at the sides, we're once again opening that part of vulnerability as well. This is that point where we take those 3 final really good deep breaths for this pose. And after all 3, Take a moment walking yourself backwards to either to sit on the feet or to rise up to a high kneeling position, whatever feels best in your body. And we relax through the shoulders by rolling them up, back, and then dropping them down. So do that a few times. Perhaps adding a breath cycle to this. Inhale through the lift, exhale through the release. Take one more set. Very good. From here, our next posture is going to be a child's pose where we walk our hands off to the left edge of the mat. So this could be possible with knees close together in child's pose. It's going to be a little bit easier if you go wide, but play with either. Neither's right, neither's wrong. The first couple of moments will be to play with it. So from here, we've got our first option for the knees, the one we'd like to start playing with. We walk the hands forward to help release the low back and pull the sacrum into the game with us. And once we're leaning forward, we begin to walk off to that left edge of the mat. I do prefer the head to be down, but that being said, a block is an option if you'd like. And as we're walking off this left edge of the mat, I tend to find it helpful to place my right hand on top of my left hand to simply walk that last inch that's available through the right side. So when you find a position that's good enough to stay in for a few minutes, we start to breathe and release and feel what's going on. So many people don't like holding poses for so long because we start to feel the body. Now, while we're not seeking for pain, we do want to explore and find beautiful depths. If pain is your experience, readjust until it feels okay. But if it's simply uncomfortable because you don't normally sit in this way, maybe that's a place to breathe into for a few extra breaths before you take a break. Take your last 2 deep breaths. We begin a slow journey over to the other side. I like to just walk with my elbows or walk with my fingertips, low through the center, and eventually off to the second direction. On this side, if you enjoyed that feeling before, it may be good to cross the left hand on top of the right hand as you're walking clear over to the side. 3 more good breaths for this direction. And then return your spine back to the center. In a normal child's pose, take 3 more breaths as a chance to straighten the spine, reminding it what this centered position is. From there, once again, we plant the hands, straightening the arms to help support our climb upright. And now we're ready to return down onto our backs. So take your time, coming all the way there. When you're down in this shape, allow your body to do some movements that feel good. This could be simple windshield wipers with the knees, or staying in a simple twist to each direction for a few breaths. Maybe it's happy baby today, grabbing onto feet and rolling around. Just listen to your body and give it a few more breaths of any kind movements that help to get the last little wiggles out that we need, so that eventually we're ready to rest in a Shavasana pose. There's no rush to get there. You can take 30 seconds, even another minute if you're just feeling so good with these movements. And know that your Shavasana can be flat on the ground, or you can take another variation, maybe cobbler's pose, or something else that aids in these vulnerable sensations today. Continue to take your time and explore. And I'll give you one last quote to consider before we head into this final resting shape. And this quote is from Wim Hof, and he says, "Do something uncomfortable every day." And so he encourages people to do things like taking cold showers and doing breath techniques that include retaining without air for even a minute at a time. And these kinds of things train our body. It trains us to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And isn't that important for life? Because that's what life does. It throws at us something new every day to kind of keep us on our toes, if that's what we're looking for. But instead, we have the option, if we choose, to become comfortable being uncomfortable, to take the parts of us that are vulnerable and expose it to the light until we're comfortable with that part of us. To start seeking after what makes us uncomfortable so that we can learn something about ourselves in that process. And so as we breathe here and relax for the next few minutes, see if you can give yourself permission to be with your vulnerabilities. Even if you don't do anything else about it today, see if you can be with it right here, right now, as we breathe. begin to deepen our inhales and our exhales. Introducing little movements back to the fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Stretching out like we're waking up first thing in the morning. And eventually rolling over to a nice fetal position on one side. Enjoy a few really good deep breaths. Gradually rising up to a seated place when you feel ready. And as the hands are joining together in front of the heart, it's almost like the hands are giving a hug to those vulnerable parts of who we are. And we can say to those parts of us, I accept you totally and completely for who you are. There's nothing wrong with who you are. You're perfect just the way that you are, and I love you. And so with this kindness to lead us into this marvelous day, let's wrap up the wonderful time we've got to share together with the sound of Om. Inhaling now. Om. May we be filled with light and happiness and peace. Namaste.